Sleep. Paralysis. True stories from viewers. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, your mind fully aware but your body frozen? Have you ever felt an unseen presence lurking in the darkness, watching, waiting? If so, you're not alone. Sleep paralysis is a terrifying phenomenon experienced by many. Here are 3 true accounts from viewers who dared to share their encounters with the unknown. Some claim it is just a trick of the mind, but these stories suggest something far more sinister lurking in the darkness. The shadow in the corner. Maya had experienced sleep paralysis before, but nothing like this. It started as it always did, a heavy weight pressing down on her chest, an invisible force holding her still. She could move her eyes, but that was all. Panic set in as she tried to scream, but no sound came out. Then she saw it. In the corner of her room, where moonlight barely reached, something moved. A shadow darker than the night itself. It had no distinct shape at first, just a shifting void. But then it stepped closer. It had legs, long and spindly, and arms that stretched unnaturally toward the floor. As it crept forward, Maya noticed the worst part, its face, or rather, the absence of one. A hollow space where eyes and a mouth should have been. She tried to close her eyes, tried to will herself awake, but it was useless. The figure came closer, its movements jerky and unnatural. It hovered over her, bending so close she could feel the cold radiating from it. Then, in a voice that wasn't a voice at all, it whispered one word: soon. The moment it spoke, Maya's body snapped free. She shot upright, gasping for air. The shadow was gone, but the cold remained. And for the next few nights, she could still hear that word echoing in her mind. Each night she hesitated before going to sleep, the fear of that presence returning consuming her. But it didn't matter. On the 3rd night, the shadow wasn't in the corner anymore. It was standing right beside her bed. The hands under the bed. Jacob had just moved into his new apartment when the sleep paralysis episodes began. At first, it was just the usual symptoms, the inability to move, the crushing sensation on his chest. But soon, something more sinister emerged. One night, as he lay paralyzed, he felt a presence. It wasn't just in the room, it was beneath him. A soft scratching sound came from under the bed, slow and deliberate. Then, the feeling of something touching his back, not a single hand, but multiple. Cold, clammy fingers pressing against his skin, moving, crawling. He wanted to scream, to jerk away, but his body wouldn't obey. Then the whispers started, faint at first, then growing louder, as if dozens of voices were murmuring just beneath him. He couldn't make out what they were saying, but the malice was unmistakable. Finally, his body jolted awake. He rolled out of bed, heart hammering. He grabbed his phone and shined its light under the bed. Nothing. Just dust and darkness. But Jacob never slept in that bed again. He got rid of it the very next day, convinced that whatever had been there was waiting for him to fall asleep again. But the whispers didn't stop. They followed him, lingering in the silence of the night. Even in a new bed, he would wake up and feel something moving just beyond his reach. Was it ever really the bed? Or was it something that had attached itself to him? The woman at the foot of the bed. Elena had always been skeptical of the supernatural, until the night she saw the woman. It was past midnight when she awoke, her body rigid, her breath shallow. Her instincts told her something was wrong before her eyes even adjusted to the dim light. And then she saw her. A woman in a tattered white gown stood at the foot of her bed, her head tilted unnaturally to one side. Her eyes were hollow, black pits that seemed to drink in all the light. Her mouth hung open, as if she were mid-scream, but no sound came out. Elena wanted to cry out, to close her eyes, to do anything but watch as the woman began to move. She didn't walk. She glided, slowly, steadily, toward Elena's paralyzed form. Then, the woman's jaw unhinged. A guttural, ear-piercing wail erupted from her mouth, and Elena felt a pressure unlike anything she'd ever known. Her chest constricted, as if something unseen was trying to pull the life from her body. Just as she thought she would pass out, the woman vanished. Elena shot upright, drenched in sweat, gasping for breath. But the worst part? The next morning, when she stepped out of bed, she found something on the floor where the woman had stood. a single withered fingernail. That night, Elena refused to sleep. But as the clock struck 3 a.m., her eyes grew heavy, exhaustion overtaking her. She fought against it, but she must have dozed off. Because when she awoke, frozen in her bed once more, the woman was there again. This time, she wasn't at the foot of the bed. She was standing inches from Elena's face. These are just a few stories from those who have encountered something beyond explanation during sleep paralysis. Are they simply hallucinations caused by the brain's confusion between dreaming and waking? Or are they something more? Something waiting for us in the moments between sleep and consciousness? Sleep well, if you can. If they let you. Thanks for watching our video. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing so you never miss an upload.